Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137. And here's your forecast for Friday, February 23rd and Saturday, February 24th. We have an active alert here. They're calling for a wind chill advisory in effect from 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Saturday through 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Sunday. So it's going to be dangerously cold this weekend, and here we go. So Friday, in the clouds with snow showers, additional snow accumulations of a trace to 2 inches with a high in the upper 20s. Winds will be shifting to the northwest at 20 to 35 miles per hour, increasing to 25 to 40 miles per hour with a wind chill 5 to 15 above. Friday night, mostly in the clouds under mostly cloudy skies with a chance of snow showers. Possible additional snow accumulations of a trace to 1 inch. The low is going to be around 5 degrees with northwest winds at 25 to 40 miles per hour, increasing to 45 to 60 miles per hour with gusts up to 70. And the wind chill is going to be falling to 20 to 30 below. Saturday, in and out of the clouds, trending towards clearing under partly cloudy skies, starting with a high in the lower single digits, decreasing through the day to around 5 below. That is cold, to say the least. Northwest winds at 45 to 60 miles per hour, increasing to 55 to 70 miles per hour west, with gusts up to 80 miles per hour, with the wind chill falling to 40 below to 50 below.
Broadcasting from the Woodpeckers studio in the great state of New Hampshire, welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stump.
Yo.
Art Stomp episode 141.
141.
Having
fun.
What are we going to do tonight?
I have no idea. You want to tell the listeners what just happened?
we had a little technical difficulty, so we had connectivity issues. So we were going to have Eric Hamilton, Sir Maps-a-Lot, who has written a recent book called The Other 52, A Hiker's Guide to the Lower 52 Peaks of the New Hampshire 100 Higher. So these are like a list of a lot of bushwhack hikes and more obscure hikes. So it's like, it's right up Stomp's alley, but unfortunately Eric just was in thought he had Wi-Fi. He was dialing in on a cell connection, and it's just
in the Adirondacks.
Not only that, Stomp, but I also wonder like if this whole like AT&T cell phone solar flare thing.
Good question.
With the cell phone connections is probably messing things up too. So
I would think so.
Yeah, but we're going to have Eric next week, so it's all good.
How many people lost their service today? Was that part of it? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many
40,000.
people lost cell connection. I'm a Verizon guy, but I think it was a pretty good volume of people, but it was a lot in the south and the southeast.
Yeah, Gotcha. All right, no worries. So he'll be back next week, and we will dive deep with Eric next week. Not a big deal. We have a ton to talk about.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of stuff here. So welcome to episode 141 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. So this week we're going to do a little bit of an adjustment. So Eric's going to be here next week, but we're going to talk about a recent rescue on Mount Washington that involved the Cog Railway and a team of rescuers that had to face some challenging weather to cut across the West Side Trail to sort of bail out this solo hiker that got in trouble. We've got an update. Littlefoot, Scarlett, the young hiker, has finished her winter 4,000 footer list.
Yep.
Stomp's got some snowmobile crash news. I got some a review of a stay at the Zealand Hut, and then talking about a Zealand Bonds Traverse. We can do a recap on that, and then we've got some additional search and rescue news with rescues that went down on Mount Avalon and Welch Dickey. So plenty of other stuff to talk about that's on the script here as well. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp. Let's get started.
This is Ben Pease from Hiking Buddies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit committed to reducing avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. You can find out more at hikingbuddies.org. We wanted to say thank you to those who have supported our mission, and most importantly, say thanks to those who speak up, who ask questions, and who are willing to provide guidance and assistance on the trails when needed. You embody what it means to be a hiking buddy. And now, for all my newer hikers out there, here's this episode's Hiking Buddies Quick Tip.
Leave no trace, principle number 2. Travel and camp on durable surfaces. Stay on trails. Choose durable ground for tenting, large trees for hammocking. Do not camp within 200 feet of a water source.
Let's get started. So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's start the episode off, Stomp, with a message from a listener named Jen, who is in the deepest, darkest parts of Antarctica.
Can you believe this? We have listeners in Antarctica. So listener Jen says, hey, just letting you guys know I brought your podcast, parentheses, and sticker, close parentheses, to Antarctica. Working as a sous chef for McCurdo Station until March 2024. Just tag the podcast in a notable hike, and we'll post a pic of the sticker in front of the McCurdo sign soon. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's impressive. And it's McMurdo Station. McCurdo.
Oh, sorry. I have my weak readers on.
Yeah, no problem. But I'm looking at a picture of it on Wikipedia, and it's a pretty decent sized facility. Like, it reminds me of what you'll see in these villages in Alaska where they have to fly a plane in. So it's pretty big. There's containers, and there's a number of different housing units and work buildings and stuff. So she's not exactly like in the middle of Antarctica, but I would imagine that they go out on excursions and do all kinds of cool stuff. So
yeah, who knows? So the station is the largest community in Antarctica, capable of supporting up to 1,500 residents. Yep. Unbelievable. So there's a few other facilities there, but that's one of them.
Yeah, that's impressive. So Jen, thank you for all the thoughts about us, and make sure that you're putting our sticker everywhere. And I don't know, she probably must have gotten stickers from when she was in the U.S. because there's no way you can mail things to Antarctica. I would assume it takes a while to get there.
Yeah, it's a good question. Maybe Dolls and Pops set her up with one and a pie before she split.
Could be. So anyway, but and definitely let's stay in touch with her. I'd love to get her on to talk about what life is like down there.
Yeah, that's a good call. You hear that, Jen?
Yes.
All right, we got you.
You're in. We're impressed. All right, Stomp. And then coming up, I wanted to plug a little event that we have going on for next Wednesday. I'm going to be doing a presentation of search and rescue data with the Hiking Buddies. So
Nice.
I think you can sign up through the Hiking Buddies. We'll put a link in the show notes. So if you want to check that out, it's
I'll
like
be
a
there.
bonus live podcast episode, I think.
Yeah, I'll be there, dude. I'll support you.
All right. I'm a little nervous.
I won't have my camera on, but I'll be listening.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work. I got to talk to Lynn to find out what the logistics are around it, if it's just me talking or if there's an opportunity for people to ask questions.
Right. All right, cool.
All right, so I got a little bit of homework to do. I got to pull together 2023 SAR data media report. So,
right. Yeah, your presentation's always really cool, and your data. So, looking forward to it.
It'll be fun. All right, Stomp. So I wanted to just, we usually do this stuff at the end, but I figured we'd talk about this Mount Washington rescue.
Yeah, this is a big ordeal, man.
Yeah. So a Portsmouth man rescued in 90-mile-an-hour winds with the help of the Cog Railway.
Yep.
So a team of rescuers worked in minus 52-degree wind chill using multiple resources to reach the hiker who officers say made numerous poor decisions. So New Hampshire Fish and Game said Saturday, a 22-year-old from Portsmouth was hiking in the Ammonoosuc Ravine on the western slope of Mount Washington when he fell and was injured. So after the fall, this hiker called 911 and requested help. Due to poor reception, very little information could be obtained except that he had an injury and needed help. The call was sent to a conservation officer along with the GPS coordinates of the hiker's location, which showed him well off trail in a drainage ravine west of the West Side Trail and north of Crawford Path at approximately 4,500 feet of elevation. So,
wow.
Just for the listeners.
Nearby,
Yeah, the lay of the land over there, so you come up in the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trail, you hit Lakes of the Cloud Hut. You will then continue on towards the Mount Washington summit via the Crawford Path. Before you make the final push to the summit, there is you can call it a bailout or you can call it a diversion. So there's a trail called the West Side Trail, which is probably about 0.6 of a mile from the trail junction of Crawford over to connect to the Cog Railway. So I've used this trail as a bailout before. I think it's at about 5,200 feet of elevation, maybe 5,400 feet of elevation. So I'm skeptical that he was down 4,500 feet. I'd be surprised, but maybe he was. I don't know.
Well, it reads sort of funny. Like, was he bushwhacking?
No,
because it says he was in the ravine.
Yeah, he fell. I mean, he certainly fell down. The problem with taking that West Side Trail is that in difficult conditions, you're basically walking into the western face of the mountain where the wind is hitting directly. Yeah. So until you get to the Cog Railroad tracks, you're relying on cairns to find your way, and that area doesn't get traveled a lot. Like there's not going to be a lot of like footprints, or even if there was people traveling there, it's just hard packed ice, and there's no trail to follow, so you have to follow the cairns. Okay, so he was on trail and then went down this drainage. It sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like he went down trail. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay. The West Side Trail, I think, is around 5,200, 5,400 feet. It just follows that contour line all the way over to the Cog Railroad. They're saying he was at 4,500 feet. I'm guessing he probably wasn't that far. But essentially, they activated this rescue with the Androscoggin Valley Search and Rescue Mountain Rescue Service And calls were made to the Mount Washington Auto Road and the Cog Railroad to make preliminary thoughts about the best option for getting the rescuers up there. It was decided that due to the location, the only thing that makes sense is the Cog would make the most sense. So the Cog was willing to start a special train. They put a snowblower on the front to bring the rescuers up to the crossing of the West Side Trail.
Amazing.
This would save. They basically offered this, so this is going to save the rescue team. Probably 3-4 miles of climbing up the Cog and then cutting over. So the offer was gladly accepted. As the crews responded to the Cog Railroad, they decided they were going to use 2 trains. They were going to do an early team that would clear the path and get started to the GPS location. It's like minus 50 wind chill, so they're probably thinking this guy probably has limited time.
Absolutely.
And then they would get a second team that would come up afterwards. So the first crew set off on foot from the train on the West Side Trail. And then once that first train came up and dropped off the rescuers, another call came in. And at this point, the hiker was able to offer... I guess the call came in. They couldn't hear him. He called back, and the reception was just clear enough to understand that he was no longer at the same location, but made his way to Lakes of the Cloud.
That's amazing.
And he was he was in that emergency shelter area. So, and he still needed help. So, good news for him.
Yeah, I'm glad he knew about it, or maybe he didn't know about it.
I don't know. I'm not sure. He had been there before, so he came that way.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, true. Yeah.
So by that point, the second train with a second group of rescuers was dropped off and started across the West Side Trail. There's another article that talks about sort of the risk in the Cog is that when they go up that high in that cold condition, the diesel fuel can actually turn to gel, and then they can get stuck up there. So they don't want to risk that. So I think that they didn't mess around too much. They got the rescuers up and then headed back down.
Right. Wow.
But hats off to the Presbys and Andy and that whole crew, because they're putting the expensive equipment at risk and their own personnel at risk by going up there like that. So it was 90 mile an hour winds, wind chill of minus 52, ambient temperature of minus 9.
Right. Well, I hate to say it, man. It's like this. Even though you're in that dungeon at Lake of the Clouds, that is not warm unless you have the right gear.
Yeah,
it's still life or death.
I've looked in that place before. Like sometimes it gets frozen over too. You can't even open the door. So I don't know if it was inside or just outside.
Yeah, who knows?
But anyway, they got to the shelter at 6:15, and the hiker was injured. He's suffering. He's not injured, but he was suffering from hypothermia and was wearing like a bunch of layers of frozen clothes, including frozen hiking shoes. And eventually, like the second wave of rescuers arrived, and they were able to warm him up over like 3 hours. They had to take off his wet, frozen clothes and place him in extra gear. The boots were thawed out so that his frostbite-bitten feet could return with dry wool socks that the rescuers had put on for him. So they fed him, they filled him with warm liquids, and then they were able to take him down the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trail with some assistance. He hiked out on his own, and they left at 9:45. They got down around 10:50. They got to the base station of the Cog, and there was an ambulance waiting. The hiker decided that he didn't want to go to the hospital. He would take himself, and that was it. So he was brought to his vehicle by 11:45. So long day for him.
Yeah.
Fishing Game goes on to say that he made numerous poor decisions regarding the hike. He didn't have proper gear, didn't plan the weather correctly, didn't make critical decisions to keep himself out of harm's way.
Yeah.
And they did indicate that the hiker saw other groups turn around. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. But he decided to keep going. So,
you know what that sounds like? It sounds like a bill.
Potentially.
Oh, yeah.
So, So anyway, the article ends with the list of people who have died on the presidential range will stay at 173 for now, thanks to the rescue effort that saved this hiker's life on Saturday. Just a correction, there's actually 171 names on the list.
Oh, interesting. How do you know that?
So Patrick had sent a note over and corrected that.
Gotcha.
So,
awesome.
Yep.
All's well that ends well.
There's a little bit more to the story here that I thought was interesting. So there's another article from the hiker itself in the Boston Globe where he describes the 11-hour ordeal. And the hiker's like, look, I wasn't experienced enough to be up there. I made some poor decisions. I'm sorry. I've learned my lessons. If I ever do this again, I'm going to go with a guide. I'm not going to risk it anymore. It's not worth it. I apologize to the rescue team. So he understands the gravity of the situation. And he was like, I was willing to hike out. And, I guess they did end up connecting him to another rescue who had a harness on him. So they weren't 100% confident that he was going to be okay by himself. So he's got a little bit of frostbite on his toes. And, it sounds like he's going to live to hike again here. And he did learn his lesson. So,
So, do you see the size of the pack of the fish and game officer in that Boston.com image?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're messing around. Yeah. They're not messing around at all.
Yeah.
So they've got a bunch of equipment on there. So there's one other thing about this that I don't think is widely reported is that there was a description of the events. This guy hiked solo. He actually connected with a group of 2 other hikers about a half a mile before Lakes of the Cloud, and he stayed with them up until the junction of the West Side Trail. So they hiked together for about a mile and a half. These other 2 hikers summited Mount Washington and then made it down successfully via the Cog as this rescue situation was going on.
Interesting. Yeah.
So this hiker, his username is Sim9 on Reddit. And Sim9 and his buddy had been planning to hike Mount Washington this day. They had posted a couple of questions to the Reddit the White Mountains group. They had talked about like, hey, we're planning to do this. A lot of people were like, the weather's no good. Don't do it. It's not worth it. They went anyway. They connected with this hiker that had went on to have trouble about a half a mile before Lakes of the Cloud. They started hiking together. So this individual hiker that needed a rescue was ahead of them. They caught up to him. They all joined together to hike together. Over the course of the mile and a half that they hiked together, this Sim9 guy and his buddy kind of realized that the hiker that ended up needing the rescue wasn't prepared. So they made some observations. They said that his boots were not serious enough. He was wearing like standard run-of-the-mill hiking boots, not winter hiking boots. He had no way of carrying his snowshoes, so he took them off at Lake's hut, carried them by his side. They said he didn't really have enough water, no insulation in his water bottles. He didn't have any goggles. He had no mittens or glove liners. He was just using ski gloves with nothing under them. His main outer layer seemed to be like some kind of insulated overalls, which were pretty good, but that he was like wearing a cotton t-shirt. And then he didn't have his fleece fully zipped up. He brushed off their attempts to dissuade him. The Sim9 guy on Reddit's like, I kind of regret not being stronger with him. But essentially what happened is that they joined up for about a mile and a half. Slowly they realized that this guy wasn't prepared. When they got to the junction that's about a half a mile before the summit, I don't know what the conversation was. He ended up going the West Side Trail. They went to the summit. I would argue in that situation, Stomp, it is safer to go to the summit than to go over the West Side Trail in those conditions. And that way, you go to the summit, you've got a little bit of like, you can block yourself from the wind a little bit when you're on there, and then you've got a straight shot to follow the Cog down.
Sure,
That to me is a much better plan than sending a solo guy west side to have him navigate in poor conditions by cairns. So
yeah,
I don't
but
know what happened when they got to
Yeah.
that junction and how they disconnected with this guy.
Right.
But
it's all speculation.
I've been in that situation, Stomp, and like if I run into a stray hiker, especially if I'm sniffing that this person doesn't know what they're doing, I'm adopting that hiker.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. But you can only do so much. I mean, if he disagrees or, he's on his own.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I agree.
Yes.
I mean, I suppose going up, getting the shelter, and even going down Auto Road would be the safer bet than in blinding conditions. It talks about, the fish and game officers are saying that they had to leapfrog the cairns because it was so blinding you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not leaving that guy. I don't care. Maybe I'm just, that's just my opinion, is that like the two hikers that broke off, like I don't know all the details, but regardless, I'm not leaving that guy, especially if I'm sniffing that he doesn't know what he's doing up there.
Yeah, and his cotton and regular boots and whatnot.
Yeah.
What was he thinking?
So-
Holy moly.
So it's an interesting story.
I'm not speculating here as to what his intentions were, but it reminds me of John from Ty's essay. Like, what
I mean, I think he was just a legit hiker. The funny thing is, somebody had posted on Reddit too that he's got like his all trails, and he does do a fair amount of hiking, but he originally gave the hike like a 2-star rating. He's like, no, I don't like this one, because you can give it like 5 stars or whatever. I think he deleted it after a while, but I guess hard lesson learned. I mean, huge credit to the search and rescue team for getting out there. I mean, they're not going to judge anybody. They're just going to go and rescue, and I'm sure they're happy as can be that he got down safe. And I think he learned a lesson. And huge credit to the Cog for stepping up and risking their equipment, risking their personnel. It's crazy. We just talked with Andy about this, and those guys are willing to do what they can do. And they'll even risk the equipment and the safety of their team to help people out.
Yeah. Yep. And, if you heard the weather forecast for this show, this weekend is not going to be a joke. It's going to be very similar with snow over the next 24 hours or so. And then the sub-zero weather with the wind chills. So, I mean, people just got to use their heads.
Yeah. I mean, I was planning on hiking Mount Washington this weekend, but I looked at the higher summit and we're bailing on it. We're going to probably end up doing something else, cannon,
sure.
Finish my 4,000 footer winter list or something. But
much smarter.
Yeah, so it's just not worth it. So you got to take a look at the weather. But honestly, like I do look side-eyed at the two hikers that summited and broke off from that guy. Again, I don't know what was going on, what the conversations were. I know it's always weird when you pick some random person up on the trail, but I've had that happen to me, and I've taken. I mean, matter of fact, we had this happen at Lakes of the Cloud. We had two solo hikers that were clearly not as experienced to us. I was with Camilla and Lance, and we were like, we're adopting these people, and they're coming with us. And it wasn't a bad day.
Unreal.
So anyway, and again, who knows? It may have been like if they went with the guy, it could have been 3 people needing a rescue and not 1. So I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, and what's interesting, just a little inside baseball here, there were 2 other rescues going on simultaneously that sort of strained all the other teams.
Yeah. I mean, they have a way of coming in like waves for some reason.
Right. Very strange.
Yes.
But, as for, we'll get to the other rescues, but I have a theory about why they happened. And I think it's all to do with the thaw and the freeze that happened last week.
Really? Got
absolutely.
everything too thick?
Well, yeah. I mean, just everything melted and then froze up solid again. So, like Avalon, that is steep, and you're just laying down a layer of glare ice on it now. So, I mean, to have 2 slip and falls on the same day, it's a little unusual, I would think.
I mean, Avalon's like crazy. It's like
it is.
Avalon and East Osceola were like the 2 craziest like winter climbs that I just wasn't expecting them.
Yeah.
To be that steep, but they're really steep. So
yeah, for sure.
Hey, one of the there was a comment on our Facebook group about somebody was like, we got to be careful about glorifying hikes, and we should be discouraged. I don't know the details, but essentially, like, I think the theme was like, we shouldn't talk about doing these hikes because it might inspire people that are clueless to go out and hike. And I'm like, well, we do our best to try to educate people on safety, and there's plenty of people that can go out and do these things safely. So I don't buy into that myself, but I figured I'd throw it out and get your opinion.
Well, I mean, what do you know what hikes they were talking about? I mean, I
think they were just talking about us glorifying just difficult hikes and going in bad conditions, and in relation to this kid that got rescued on Mount Washington.
Well, first of all, we're not telling people to go in full conditions, that's for sure. But when it comes to hikes, I mean...
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Maybe you are. I don't know.
No, absolutely not. No, those days are all done with. Nope. No. But yeah, I mean, it's fair game talking about hikes that are available and public trails. I mean...
Yeah. We're trying to educate, make sure that people do things safe, but also, I mean, there's a lot of people that do winter hiking, and it's a great thing to do, and you can do it safely. You just have to worry about the weather, or make sure your gear is dialed in, and take it slow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
All right, Stomp. So that's the Mount Washington situation. We'll see if anybody has any additional news on it, but hopefully this young man learned a lesson.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Wanted to give a shout out to Littlefoot. So Scarlett, I think she's 7 or 8 years old at this point. So she and her grandparents, Kim and Mark, who do most of the hiking with her, or all of the hiking with her, and then they have a whole crew of like pretty consistent people that will join in on her hike. So typically they'll go out with like 7 or 8 people, and it's a consistent group. So she was able to finish her winter 4,000 footer list on Mount Hale last weekend. So I was over in Zealand Hut, and I knew she had been finishing. Our backup plan was we were going to go over to Hale if the conditions weren't good, but the conditions ended up being good for us, so we didn't end up going over there. But just wanted to congratulate her and the entire group there. They're really inspirational, and I think I was looking at a post that Mike Masel, who has been on the show, he's a guide at Redline Guiding, he had summed up the accomplishment pretty nicely. So I just wanted to read what he wrote on his own personal social media page, and then see if you have any comments. But Mike wrote that her grandparents, Kim and Mark, have given her the greatest gift by showing her this life: resilience, determination, strength, community, and most important of all, opportunity. In a world that constantly tells you that you can't, she can, and she knows it. What a lesson to learn at such a young age. The sky is the limit to where those little feet can take her. So I thought that was a good...
That's awfully sweet.
Yeah, I thought that was a good kind of bow on the accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. So is this her first Winter 48?
Yeah, so she's doing the grid. I think she's like 200 summits into the grid, but this is her official finish of the winter 4,000 footer.
Very nice, very nice. So I'm sure she'll be at the awards ceremony.
She will, yeah. And matter of fact, I'm going to be finishing my winter 4,000 footer on Mount Hale as well. So,
very nice.
Not really by design, but it just worked out that way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, yeah. All right, Stomp. And then next up here, we had a listener, Ken, sent along info on an upcoming event in Boston this April, the Boston Outdoor Expo, which is being held on April 27th and 28th at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. Why aren't we? Well, we should be there with our table.
I suppose. I've never heard of this before, so thank you, Ken, for sending it along. Yeah, it sounds great. I took a little cruise through the website and it looks like a great time. So if you're in the area, in the Boston area, check it out. And it looks like it's right up the alley for a lot of listeners.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm going to be in the city next week, so maybe I will go check it out here.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Exhibitors, they've got the AMC is going to be there, the Boston Ski and Sports Club.
You know what you can do? You can barge through the doors and at top volume yell, "I've got a podcast!"
Yes. Right? Yeah. The Vermont Mountain Bike Association. Outward Bound is there.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of interesting exhibitors. So.
Next year, we'll have a table up next year with our paltry stickers.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So the Boston Expo Center. All right, so next up here, Stomp, FDA approves first medication to treat severe frostbite. So this is interesting. What's this all about?
Yeah, especially in light of the recent stories. So this is a medication that was studied in a 12-year trial, which is actually refreshing to see, a nice long-term study. And it included 47 adults who had severe frostbite, and apparently what this medication does is it just dilates the blood vessels, and even in severe hypothermic frostbite conditions, and allows the blood flow to resume. So, it's I guess it may have some other potential uses for, say, peripheral vascular disease, Raynaud's disease, perhaps, diabetes. We shall see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting stuff. And the name of
they could eventually tinker with this to give like lower doses for people that are going out in cold weather, and maybe it would help them with their Raynaud's or something. That's the question, right? So this stuff is called forget it. We're not going to be able to pronounce this. It's AURLUMYN. Arlumin. Yes, Arlumin. Pieces of me.
So, pretty cool news on the frostbite front.
So you have frostbite. It's interesting. So they did like this 47 adults that had severe frostbite, and they put them into like 3 different groups. None of the patients who received Arlumin required amputation. It's 19% in the second group and 60% in the third. If I was in the third group, I'd be like, listen, give me the drug. Don't test this. I just want the drug. So
that's hilarious.
I want the drug. I don't want to lose my arm. So, but that's promising. So we'll see.
So I just moved one story down a little lower, but we do have an article that was sent in by listener Tim Larkin. Have you seen this, Mike, about this human remains that were found in the Berkshires?
I did. Clearly, immediately, we have a serial killer. Anytime remains are found, you have to say that there's a serial killer.
Yeah, especially in mass. But this is weird. Yes. I mean, it happened in Lennox Mountain. Apparently, this hiker went missing. Let's see. Let's get these details here. February 9th, a hiker and his dog located a hiking boot with human remains inside. And the person that is missing, or was missing apparently, was missing from October 30th, 2023. And they don't believe there's any foul play going on here, but they did positively identify the remains as those of Susan Lockwood. And she was hiking in Lennox Mountain in the Berkshires.
Wow. So they don't know any details yet on how she died?
Not according to this article. It's a very brief article. But it is interesting. I know where that mountain is, and it's not exactly a mountain. It's like just a rolling hill, so to speak. But we shall see. But the Berkshires have a serial killer.
When I went to school out there, hopefully it's not a serial killer. But when I went to school out there, Stomp, they arrested a serial killer. Like when I was a senior in college, they arrested this guy, Louis Lent. And this guy was like straight out of central casting for a serial killer. Like big, thick Coke bottle glasses. He was like a janitor at a school. He was like kidnapping and killing like little girls. It was like creepy.
Okay. Oh, jeez.
People were freaked out.
Huh. Wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's serving a life sentence, I think. And maybe he's
really.
Hopefully he died by now, but I don't know.
That's funny. Wow. Hey, we have some animal news for a change.
Oh yeah. What's going on there?
Well, this first story is pretty interesting. I labeled it in the script as another death while doing what they love. Now, this one is pretty crazy. And this comes to us, let's see, where did this happen? This was in India. Okay. So a man is mauled to death by a lion after entering enclosure to do what? Guess what?
Take a selfie.
Take a selfie. Yeah. So this 43-year-old man was mauled to death. He entered a Sri Lankan zoo, apparently, and wanted to take a selfie with a wild animal, and he scaled this 4-foot wall. Then he scaled a 6-foot tall iron fence, and took a selfie doing what he loves. Yeah, so there you go. So by the way, the incident remains ongoing. The investigation. Wonder what happened.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah. I wonder if they have cameras in the. I'm sure that they do.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a sad story, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he got a selfie.
The very last selfie.
Yes.
All right. And we have 2 other animal stories. This is a scary one. Cyclists fight off cougar attack that leaves woman injured. And this comes out of Seattle. This is terrifying, actually. I had no idea that cougars are up in that area, Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
But a woman is recovering from a cougar attack. Cougar attacked a group of cyclists near Seattle, Washington. Woman and 4 others were biking on a trail near Fall City, about 25 miles east of Seattle, when they were attacked by a cougar. She was pounced on by the cougar. The other cyclist jumped into action to fight the large feline, and she came walking away with injuries to her face and neck. I mean, I'm terrified by this story. Like, I battle Xylo sometimes, and I come away in rough shape. When you're dealing with a 75-pound cougar, I don't know. Your chances aren't that great. So that's a really interesting story.
Well, one of the cyclists was able to pin this thing down.
I can't imagine.
One of the other ones was able to take off in the woods. So that's nice. Like, maybe help the other cyclists grab the damn cougar. But it is it's impossible to keep. Like, those cats are very squirmy. Like, you can't pin them down.
Absolutely. And those claws, holy moly. I wouldn't know how long the claws are on a 75-pound cougar, but I'm sure they're a couple inches long.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, Stomp, when I was down in Florida at the retirement home, I got attacked by a couple of cougars, not the cat kind.
Oh, I think this is for a different podcast, right? Oh my goodness, that's bad. Yeah, that will get a ba-dump. Yep. Yeah, so finally, listener Ola, it's Heather, sent a message. We were chatting about some of the snowmobile accidents, and she says, quote, watch for moose on the trail. We just got back from riding, apparently a night ride, and a moose came out of nowhere, and it charged me, and I had to hit the throttle and haul ass. It was so close I could hear it snorting. Wow. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, we were talking on our hike Saturday about moose, and my friend Peter was saying that, and I didn't know this, but he said they have terrible eyesight.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay, but they can still hear the noise of the engines, perhaps, and I don't know.
They can smell and stuff. But I guess they have terrible eyesight, so which it can explain sometimes where they'll just sit on trail and they're not moving that much. They just can't really see what's going on around them too well.
Yeah, and from what I understand, a lot of them are demented because of the disease that they're struggling with.
Yeah,
but brain wasting.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
All right, Stomp, it's the part of the show where I do a dad joke.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, Stomp, what do you call a teacher who doesn't fart in public?
A teacher who doesn't fart in public.
I feel like there's been a couple of these dad jokes that involve farting, but what do you call a teacher who doesn't fart in public?
Dude, I got it. A substitute teacher.
Oh, you're close. It's a private tutor. Private tutor. But I'll give you credit for that answer, because that's actually way better. I would have never got that.
That's funny, yeah. All right, that's the first time I've ever got a dad joke. They're always so obvious, but all right, cool. I'm getting the hang of that.
Thanks again to our friends Lance and Camilla for 365 days of dad jokes.
Yeah, and the lucky sponsor that follows the fart joke is Fieldstone Kombucha. So that's funny. Fieldstone Kombucha, New England's premium craft kombucha company. If you're in the heart of New England, you need to drink a New England-style kombucha. Softer, less acidic, and truly enjoyable. Our kombucha is naturally effervescent and boasts a full-bodied flavor. Fieldstone crafts the best seasonal flavors. When we tell you there's blueberries in our Baby Bandit flavor, it nearly turns your tongue blue. Women owned and operated, we brew in Rhode Island using whole, locally sourced ingredients. Fieldstone Kombucha is the perfect replenishing drink after a day on the slopes or a trek in the woods. It's chock full of probiotics and healthy acids to keep you in top form. Find us at Biederman's in Plymouth, Mad River Coffee House in Campton, the Concord Food Co-op, and more. Check out our website for the full list of New Hampshire and New England-wide locations. Use code SLASHER, SLASR, on our website for 10% off an online order shipped straight to your door. So that's fieldstonekombuchaco.com. Let's see. We have stickers. Stickers are at Ski Fanatics off of Exit 28 in Campton. I just dropped a whole bunch off the other day, and they were appreciative. They're saying that listeners are coming in quite a bit actually to get them, which is really cool. Or at Spinners in Andover off of Dascombe Road off 93. Say hi to Dolls and Pops for us. And news, we get some new stickers on the way, some new cool holographic circular stickers for the cars. So those are coming. And advertise with Slasher. If you have anything you want to plug, just reach out to us and see if we have some packages for you that might work. And just so you know, you may end up just after some fart jokes. Let's see. Coffee donations. If you want to show your support for the podcast, donate at Slasher's Buy Me a Coffee site. Donations are super helpful. They help pay for the web hosting and distribution and live events and gear and all kinds of good stuff. So we really appreciate the help.
I'll take a coffee stomp.
Yeah, you take a coffee. Set us up with a coffee.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking on this week's Beer Talk.
All right, well, moving on from coffee to beer, Stomp, this is the part of the show where we talk about what beer we are drinking.
Yeah. What you got going on? Anything?
I have our friend Patrick on the Mount Washington State Park Summit inspired me to get the 6288 Stout from Tuckerman Brewing Company. So I picked up a 4-pack of this, and I've been waiting for just the perfect moment to have one.
So how is it compared to, say,
it's very good. It's good. It's a little bit different. I'm used to the IPAs, but I like this. I like the stout. It's like a brown beer. It's a little nutty. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, I saw some of that stuff the other day. Can you see this?
Oh yeah. Hofwex Weiss.
Yeah, this is interesting. So it's a collaboration. It says Stowe style, and it's the Von Trapp and Fox Farm collaboration. It's Hopfenweiss, and it's a dry hopped wheat ale coming in at 5.5 ABV. And again, it's just a collaboration, part of the collaboration series, and it's actually really tasty. Enjoying it. It seems like I'm doing my best to really branch out and try some random stuff.
You're doing great, Stomp.
Thanks. I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Whatever, mister.
Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
All right. This is the part of the show where we talk about recent hikes. So, Stomp, why don't you go? I know you haven't been hiking, but you've been snowmobiling.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting weekend. I think at the same time when we were hit with giant blinding squalls, you were hiking, right? Weren't you up on? All right, yeah. So I was thinking of you because I was up on the top of Jefferson Notch Road and it was absolutely blinding, and I couldn't see perhaps 10 feet in front of the sled, and I could barely see the people behind me, and we were at a crawl at about 5 miles an hour for a good 20 minutes. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, it's better to be safe than to be flying around in those conditions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I had not been in squalid conditions like that. Squallish is probably a better word, for as long as I can remember. It's pretty terrifying stuff. And Sunday was pretty wild. We had a crash. One of the other tour guides experienced a crash. They were coming across Mount Clinton Road and bearing left onto the access road where the Cog is, and the person hit the throttle by accident and just ended up crashing, and this required a response by EMS. Twin Mountain showed up, Fish and Game, and it was pretty hardcore, pretty banged up badly. And I actually was at the starting point where the cabin is, and I had 2 tours that were lined up to go out, and we ended up basically canceling them. And I went out on a snowmobile to bring back the other guides' guests so that they could deal with Fish and Game and everything else. But it was bad, man. Ugh. Yeah. And it just happens. It happens, but I think the sled hit a little bump, and just the rest is history.
Yeah, so, it's rough. I mean, it's a learning curve, and
it is.
Sometimes I think it takes more than one day, or even people well-meaning, they go slow and then they just they hit the throttle the wrong way. So
yeah,
I don't know how you fix it.
I don't either, and I'm shocked at all the stories this year. We'll cover 2 later that are really interesting and unusual, but there's so many. Yeah. But anyhow.
Well, I had a big adventure, Stomp.
Yeah. No kidding.
We stayed over at the Zealand Hut, so I had a crew of, it was 3 of us, so there was Peter, Jake, and Steve.
Yep.
Of Steve Eats Shit fame. He's got a great Instagram page. Check it out. He's such a great guy. So the 4 of us, and then I've been in contact with one of the listeners who had said that she was going to be up there with a crew of people. So we connected with Audrey, Dan, and Dave. So we basically had a crew of 7 of us. That went out. They were in the parking lot when we got there, so we ended up, kind of hiking in with them. We got a little separated, but basically getting in there at the same time. So we were kind of the parking lot was pretty busy, so we were kind of thinking maybe there'd be more people there. So I think Zealand Hut has enough space for, I think it's 36 people, maybe 38 people, maybe it's a little bit less. But it ended up being there was 13 of us. So there was our group of 7, and then there was a family, like grandparents, a young lady, a young girl, like 9-year-old girl, and then her dad, and then maybe like an uncle and an aunt or something. So it was a family. So it kind of worked out perfect because we took one half, and then they took the other half. And the way it's set up there is there's like triple bunks.
Yeah.
So we took, like, I took a bunk like in the middle, so the second level, and I was like, I'll just go up close to where the stove is, and maybe it'll be a little warmer. So the room itself is not heated, but it's not like, it was like probably, I don't know, 5 degrees or something at night, but it was a little bit warmer in there. It was probably closer to like 20 degrees, 25 degrees, so it wasn't too bad.
Balmy.
Yeah, balmy a little bit. And, the caretaker was great. His name was Peter, super nice guy. We'd actually run into him on Madison like a week or 2 before Steve knew him, so we were talking again, catching up. And he had the stove going at like 4 o'clock when we got there, so the actual main room was pretty warm, and I immediately parked like right next to the stove and elbowed everybody else out of the way. So was toasty. And then just used the stove, cooked dinner. I brought some shredded chicken with me, so I heated that up.
Yeah.
And everybody else just had, I think, cold meals. And yeah, but it was good. We probably went to bed around 8 o'clock. I slept like horribly because I was all stuffed up. So you know how sometimes your sinuses will fill up on one side and then the other, and you can't get comfortable.
Yeah, I remember you were sort of fighting a little cold last week.
Yeah, a little cold, so I was still fighting that. So I was super uncomfortable. Had to pee like 3 times. So ended up getting up to pee, and then finally around midnight I ended up falling asleep for good, and we woke up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning. So,
Oh, jeez.
yeah, which is fine.
Yeah,
and then we got on trail. I think Audrey, Dan, and Dave got on trail like about 10, 15 minutes before us. And then we headed up maybe around 7:45. So they broke trail. It was maybe about 6 inches of snow from Zealand Hut up to Z Cliff. They broke trail up to Z Cliff, and then we connected with them. Once we connected in them, we were like, all right, let's all stay together. That was sort of our first checkpoint because we were like, we don't know what the weather's going to be like because it could be like crazy winds. Mm-hmm. And there was no winds on Z Cliff, and we were actually seeing blue skies. So at that point, we said, okay, well, let's keep going. But the snow started getting deeper and deeper. So we had to go through like that bog section past Z Cliff. And we made our way to Zealand. Dude, that section from Z Cliff to Zealand is long.
It's long but flattish, right?
No, it's kind of like uphill a lot.
Puds. Oh, okay.
It's like three levels of uphill.
Yeah.
First of all, it's steep to get up to Z Cliff.
Oh, sure.
That's steep enough. And then from there, you still got like, I think it's like 1.5 miles from Z Cliff to Zealand. It feels like it. And there was one section in there where we were up to our hips in snow.
Come on.
Yeah.
What,
it
from
was like
drifts?
Wind-blown snow. Yeah, drifts.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
Yeah.
So did you check the trail conditions to see if anybody had broken this out beforehand?
I did. I didn't see anything. It wouldn't have mattered. Everything is wind blown in there. Like, I don't think that breaking trail makes a difference for when you're talking about that Zealand Bond section there.
Yeah.
Everything just gets wind blown over.
Okay. Interesting.
So from Z Cliff, we got a nice view of Whitewall, which was good. And we were seeing a little bit of blue sky. We weren't hearing any wind.
Yep.
And we were like, at that point, we were like, I think we're good. And we were like keeping an eye on it. And that will come into play later.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
Things got ugly later. But so we finally get to Zealand, and we're rotating. Like, Dave broke a bunch of trail there, and then, we rotated pretty well, and 7 people was a good number. The snow was not bad. It was very light and fluffy, but it's just sometimes that light and fluffy snow when you're breaking trail can be worse because you slip backwards. Oh, yeah. So we get to Zealand, everybody's feeling good, and then we head over to Guyot, and again, Zealand to Guyot is another long hike.
It is.
I was like, I don't know what it is in my mind. I'm like, these are all right next to each other, but it's another mile or so to get to Guyot.
Were you breaking that mile too?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah, and that's uphill. Go. Yeah, so it was all breaking trail, and I actually did a good piece of that one.
Yeah.
I was like trying to stay me and Audrey were like trying to stay in the back a little. We were like, we'll stay in the back for a little while, but we rotated through. I did do a lot of work later on. But then, we get to Guyot, and then once we got above tree line, it got a little dicey. We had to put our goggles on, and I was behind the group. Those 6 of them went, and then I lost them, and then I started following them.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by
again?
Lost
That Guyot area is like a confusing.
It is, dude.
So confusing.
It's a scary place. Yeah.
It's like, so I'm heading, first of all, I'm by myself. They are all heading down. I was just getting my gloves and my goggles situated.
Were you starting to cry?
No, but I was like, I don't want them to worry about me.
Hell
so,
yeah.
As I'm heading down, I see this group of 6 people heading towards me, and I was like, oh, there's another group coming up. because I was like, oh, I didn't. But it was our group. What they had done is there's like this little narrow. There's like a 500-foot section of scrub between the lower section of Guyot and the higher section of Guyot, and they had hiked past that opening.
Yeah, it's south of the trail.
Exactly. So they had hiked past that opening. I was coming towards them. They were coming back looking for where the opening into the scrub area is. And I was like overshooting it to the left. They were heading back up towards me. And then we realized, Peter found it, I think, and realized like, oh yeah, it's kind of like to the right of where we were. So we did find it, but it's like threading a needle to find a tiny little trail that goes through that scrub.
Correct. Yeah.
And then when you get to Guyot, then you've got to go down into the Twinway, and that's another narrow, tiny little trail that was completely covered over by snow. So we weren't sure if we got it. So I ended up going down, verified on my my app that we were on the right trail, and then we all went forward. And then that's when things got tough because the wind was okay, visibility was okay, but it was a little rough on Guyot.
So but you never saw the junction sign?
We saw some signs, but it was like...
Yeah, because there's a junction sign where you can go right on Twinway and then left on Boncliffe Trail, right?
I don't know, honestly.
I'm pretty sure
I don't remember any signs being helpful, but essentially when you come off of Guyot, you're on Twinway and you head up to Guyot campsite in West Bond.
Yep.
That section was like a foot of snow the whole way through, and I was in the front breaking trail the whole time. So from Guyot to West Bond, I broke trail in the front, and then everyone was behind me. I was a little bit ahead because I was like, I'm gonna make it I'm gonna get up. I was just like in a zone. I did not even see the spur trail to get to Guyot tent site. Didn't even see it. I came up on the trail to West Bond, the trail sign to West Bond. I was like, how did I miss the Guyot trail sign? Like, it was just a foot of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's just very confusing in that area, and it doesn't matter if the trail's broken out because the wind is going to blow that snow all back on the trail.
Right. Did you guys go out to West Bond?
So we went out to West Bond.
That must have been hairy.
And then West Bond was like gorgeous, like blue sky, perfect conditions, calm as could be. Yeah, no wind, nothing.
That's hilarious. Wow. Yeah, squalls are deadly, man.
Well, we didn't get the squalls yet, so we got a little bit of squall on Guyot. Then it was like clearing when we got to West Bond. Peter and a couple of other people went up to Bond ahead of time. A couple of us were just sort of getting situated, having a snack, eating at West Bond, and then things started changing. You could hear the wind. By the time we made it up to Bond, I was in one section where I couldn't see a foot in front of my face. I didn't have my goggles on either, so the wind was just whipping up snow, and you couldn't see a foot in front of your face.
Did you guys all stay together tight?
So Peter and Steve were ahead.
Yeah.
So they headed down to Boncliffe a little bit in front of us.
Yeah.
We were able to spot them up ahead, but the five of us went down. So Bond was created. So we geared up, we got our goggles on, went down to Boncliffe, broke out of the tree line, and that's when it was like, I posted the video, it was like the squalls came in, and you could see like nothing. Yeah. The wind is whipping up. We got hit with like probably 50-mile-an-hour wind gust, I would say. I was to the point where I was leaning over into the wind, keeping me just stood up. So,
okay.
Yeah, definitely full conditions. But then,
were you getting nervous?
No, not really, because we could see enough. I could see. I had visibility, so it was okay.
Yeah.
It was like not a lot of visibility, but enough that we could see the trail. And then, by the time we actually got to Boncliffe, it started clearing up.
Oh, good. Well, it seems to work out good for you then.
Yeah. It was about a mile worth of like rough conditions, and then a mile, and it was like maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of time.
Yep, got it. Wow, cool, man.
Yeah, and then it was the death march out, which was brutal.
Of course. It always is. I bet you were like, oh man, I wish I could just jog this, get it over with.
No, I was like, I need to sit down for 5 minutes. So we actually sat down when we got to the bottom of Bondcliff Trail, and I was like, I just need to have like a snack, and I collect myself before we do the Lincoln Woods piece of it. So we got it back to the car at like 5:45. So it was a long day.
Oh yeah.
But we got it done. I don't know how happy I would have been to do that without staying at the hut though, because like the road walk and getting up to the hut so long, it's another 6 miles you add on to it.
Whew. Yeah, it's tough, man. Well, congrats. So that brings you up to what for your winter 48?
47.
Wow. One more to go.
Yep.
And it could be this weekend, you think?
Probably not. I'll do it at some point. I'll let you know when I go.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, nice work, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. It was a great crew, and we posted some good pictures on the Instagram and stuff, so check it out.
Yeah. And be careful up at Gio. If there's calls for squalls, you just got to really play it safe.
Yeah, I mean, that area, like you said, Stomp, it's just very confusing. You can't rely on even if the trail's broken out, like you can't rely on that because the wind is just going to cause drifts. The other thing, too, what was happening was that the way the drifts were working is that you would see like, okay, one half of the trail is kind of like there's not a lot of drift, so we'll go to the left. And then when you do that, what ends up happening is you step in a spruce trap. And then you're down, even in your snowshoes. So, like the drifts can be dangerous because you can get pushed to one side of the trail or the other depending on where the snow drift is heaviest. And you go to the light section, but what you don't realize is like you step in your snowshoes into a deep spruce trap. That happened to us like multiple times. So you got to be careful, especially if you're solo hiking. Like you got to really stay in the middle of the trail, even if you think like, oh, I'm going to go off to the side a little bit because there's less snow. Like, stay disciplined.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the classic scenario where a fresh battery GPS can come in handy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been in deep spruce traps. Say it again. Oh, I've been in those deep spruce traps with Nick Rillo a number of years back, heading over to Madison. It's exhausting. It's so tiring.
Yeah. Like there'll be a monorail underneath, but you're avoiding the monorail because you think you're going to a section where there's less deep snow, but you're really you can't step too close to the trees because you'll fall in. Yeah.
Incredible. Yep. Wow. All right. Well,
it was type 2 funds.
It sounds it. Yes, it does. Well, here we go. Here's the next sponsor. And did you have your Vaucluse on your back this weekend?
I didn't for this one because I had so much stuff packed that, and I had my big backpack on, so it doesn't perfectly fit it. So
yeah, right.
But I will this weekend. I'll put it back on. It's just I had so much stuff.
Yeah,
that I just was honestly, I was a little too lazy to put it on, but I will this weekend.
They've been getting some nice reviews and some gear accolades from different resources online. So congratulations, Vaucluse. So does your back sweat? Yes. Does your backpack not provide enough ventilation? Does your back sweat too much when backpacking? As you know, sweat can be extremely uncomfortable on the trails. Plus, sweat is a serious risk factor in both hot and cold climates. As your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate. This can result in hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. Let's not forget, very uncomfortable. Today's your lucky day because we have good news for you. There's a piece of gear that solves the sweat and ventilation problem, making your backpack more comfortable. Vaucluse Gear's ultralight backpack ventilation frame. This ultralight frame is a backpack accessory that easily installs on your favorite pack, size 15 liters to 45 liters, and creates a ventilating airflow gap between you and your pack. It's also ultralight, weighing around 3 ounces. That's equivalent to a pair of wool socks. Whether hiking in hot or cold temps, the ultralight backpack ventilation frame from the Vaucluse Gear company is a real game changer regarding airflow and ventilation. So visit VaucluseGear.com to order an ultralight ventilation frame today. Use promo code SLASHER to enjoy a $5 discount. Plus, let them know that Mike and Stomp sent you.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
Very good, Stomp. So this is the part of the show where we do notable listener hikes of the week.
Yeah, if you want to tag Slasher on your adventure to be considered for the hike of the week, do so, and we'll do our best to cover your adventure and give you a little plug. So we have a message from Dave to start us off here. Dave Shits in the Woods, who is our troubled child who is screaming and dying to get recognized. But he writes, shaking off the sting of last week's notable hike loss to a dog, not even hiking, in Canada, and feeling a multiple tie this week. I mean, what am I up against? Mike finishing his Winter 48, Littlefoot doing the same? Yeah, this is the week. Co-notable hiker, here I come.
Not a chance.
So yeah,
Dave's going to have to climb Mount Everest to get it.
It's so great. So when we start off, we mentioned Littlefoot. Congratulations, finishing the Winter 48 on Hale. That's super cool. That was tagged by Lynn Sweetser. Gingerbeard Keen finished the Belknap Range. That's cool. That's on my bucket list for sure.
Yep.
Full Strength Coffee did the Garfield Ridge Trail and saw a red fox. Now that's a rarity. They got to be in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
Carrie Hikes a Lot did number 34 on Galehead with minus 15 degree wind chills and survived to tag us. Very good, very good. Mike Latavaya, sorry, I butchered that, I'm sure. Brooks Fisher to Crawford Ridgepole for some great views of the lakes. I love that area. I've actually been thinking about doing that traverse very, very soon. If I even maybe this Friday after virtual. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, well, then we'll see.
Unfinished business with that area, right, Stomp?
Yeah, it's a chip on my shoulder. Yeah, no doubt about it. But this blew me away. I love this video so much. CamiFit71 posted us on Tecumseh with this epic butt sled video.
Unbelievable. She texted me like the video early. It was like unbelievable.
Yeah, as I was watching it, I didn't read the commentary under the post, but I was thinking, where was this? Was it,
It was Tecumseh.
Yeah, it's amazing, but I was thinking like Carrigain, but yeah, wow. She was cruising and the video went on and on and on and on and on. It was so great. So very cool.
Yeah. And they go, just for a pro tip here, is they go late in the day. So they're like, they make sure they're kind of the last ones going down so that they don't have to deal with any hikers coming up the trail.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yep.
A couple more here. So Liz Fay and Dave Shits in the Woods. Blue Mountain Chicora, Blue Mountain Northwest, and Blue Mountain Northeast. I have no idea where these are. I mean, I'm assuming they're near Chicora. Do you have any idea where these are?
I do.
In these conditions, that's pretty notable. That might be a notable hike of the week, don't you think?
We'll see. But I think it's off of like Middle Sister Trail. So when you go, it's kind of like off to the right of Middle Sister Trail. So it's not that far actually off trail. And then when you get to Blue Mountain, there's another summit that's over there. So I've always been kind of curious about that. So I wonder if there's views. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we can have him in again.
Yeah. We have to have him in again.
Yeah, fun. No doubt. So Littlefoot again for Wildcat A&D, which takes some courage. Carrie Hikes a Lot tagged us as for a second time for Isolation for 35 out of 48. And then finally we have Nick Hikes and Plays Guitar doing something that I thought was in the middle of Europe. I was looking at these pictures, but it ended up being in the 80K. It was an attempt of Mount Colden with a C, Colden. Wow, nice pictures. Incredible.
Yeah, he's an incredible photographer.
Okay.
Nick Hikes and Plays Guitars. Definitely check him out on Instagram. He's got some great photos.
Oh, yeah. All right, Mike, so what do you think?
Not Dave.
I mean, Littlefoot got her own segment almost.
I know Littlefoot got her own segment, so I would say I'm going to give it to Full Strength Coffee because I saw Jeff and the crew last weekend, so I'm going to give him the notable hike because he saw a fox.
Very cool, very cool.
I'm going to keep that theme going on where Dave's going to be bitter because he lost to a fox.
Oh my goodness, this is too much. And this would be where we're going into our interview with Eric Hamilton, but that will be next week. And just to start off the search and rescue section, we do have the return of 48 Peaks Alzheimer's for the season. So everybody's getting geared up for another great fundraising event and celebration at Reckless. So use your passion for hiking to help end Alzheimer's. In one collective effort, 400 plus hikers will climb New Hampshire's 4,000 footers or create their own challenge to support the mission of the Alzheimer's Association. The annual hiker celebration will take place Saturday, June 8th at Reckless Brewing Company with raffles, food, and an amazing community. Hike that weekend or any day you want. No fundraising minimums required, but those who raise $100 will receive this year's performance-grade purple t-shirt. Let's turn the White Mountains purple to end Alzheimer's. Visit alts.org/48 peaks to learn more. And I was invited to DJ, so that's super cool. So if anybody wants to hear anything particular, send us a message and I'll jot it down.
Awesome stop. So we're going to start off recent search and rescue news with a visit to your neighborhood.
Yeah, I know. I was jealous. I'm like FOMO.
Injured hiker on Welch Dickey Trail in Waterville Valley. So this happened on, what is today, the 22nd? So
it was the same day as the Amanuensis.
Yeah, so
These
Saturday,
both happened.
so February 17th, so 12:40, Fish and Game notified of an injured hiker. The hiker had been descending Welch Mountain. Which one is Welch?
Welch is going counterclockwise, the first one on the right as you're going counterclockwise.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the not
shorter.
the one in the back of that being you and my friend Jay went and found that big plateau. That's Dickey.
Correct, that's Dickey, right.
Okay. So Welch. So this hiker suffered a serious lower leg injury that prevented her from being able to finish the hike. So rescuers from the Waterville Valley Department of Public Safety, Campton Thornton Fire and Rescue, Pemmy Valley SAR team, and conservation officers with Fish and Game responded. The first rescuers reached the injured hiker at 2:45. She was about 1.3 miles from the trailhead. Massachusetts hiker from Somerville. Due to the nature of the injury, they put her in a litter and they carried her down the trail. At times they had to belay the litter with a rope on steep, icy portions of the trail. And they ended up getting her out at about 4:30. So Fish and Game gave the hiker kudos. She was well prepared for a winter hike, and they were wearing microspikes, traction device. So things happen. She just must have slipped or something. So, but all's well that ends well in this one.
Correct. Yeah, apparently he was near one of the lower ledges on Welch. Those ledges are pretty massive.
Oh yeah, it's tricky up there.
Yeah,
so your theory about your theory is that we had a warming and then a freezing and everything got just too slick for everybody.
Essentially, it froze last weekend after that 50-degree day. Everything got melted and then froze up hard, and then it snowed again, so all that ice was covered up with a nice, pretty layer of powder. And that's just my assumption that people were just tackling some ice underneath that caused these problems.
Yeah.
2 in 1 day.
Yeah, 2 in 1, 3 in 1 day.
True.
This other one, Saturday, February 27th, this one came in at 2:50. So this is on Mount Avalon. So for people that aren't familiar with Mount Avalon, it's on the 52 with a view, like Welch Dickey. It is at the same location where you would climb Mount Willie, Tom, and Field. So it's right at the, and also Mount Willard. So it's right at the train station at the Highland Center in Crawford Notch. So a lot of people will add Avalon on as a loop to do Willie, Tom, and Field. So there's a section of this trail that's super, super steep, though. So it is sketchy when it freezes over. So this call came in at 3:00 on Saturday. Hiker was located just below the summit of Mount Avalon, which is right by the steepest part of the trail, is right as you approach the summit. She was unable to move on her own. This is a terrible spot to need a rescue. Terrible. So right before her injury, she'd been using a small sled to assist her down some steep sections of the trail. Unfortunately, she could not control her speed and direction and hit a tree, which caused her to suffer a lower leg injury. So she was hiking with a friend who stayed with her as other Good Samaritan hikers reached out offering assistance. So that's great. They were able to provide her with extra clothing to stay warm while awaiting rescue personnel. So it was a 37-year-old hiker from Maine. So...
All right, I have questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, were they butt sledding?
I mean, she had a sled, and she was on her butt, so I think yes.
Okay, so that brings up topics.
I would not, that section of Avalon, there's no way that I would, I mean, I might butt sled without a sled in that section.
Sure.
Maybe.
To not gain speed.
Yeah, I mean, I would be damn sure my feet were able to dig into the trail itself.
Wow, interesting.
But I don't know, maybe she just did full send and just nailed a tree, I don't know.
Yeah, fastest known butt sled.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for the butt sledding, and I've done a fair amount of it in the last couple of weeks, is I don't wear my micro spikes. I take them off, and I've got like a pretty good, strong pair of leather work gloves. So everything's in my backpack, and then I got the sled. I've got my boots with no spikes on, so I can dig into the snow, and then I've got my leather work gloves so I can dig into the snow, and I'm actually like almost clawing my hands into the snow as I'm going, and then I'm digging my feet in at the same time so I can stop, and then I'm not going down anything that's excessively steep. If I do have to go down something excessively steep, then I'm not using a sled. I'm just butt sledding down.
Yeah, makes sense.
But if like you said is correct, and it was frozen over, and then, or if it was warmed up and then frozen over again, then it could be that if other people were butt sledding down, it just could be super fast, and she just lost control.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going by what I saw on the snowmobile trails, and a lot of the corners, certain sections were just absolute glare ice that the fresh snow had just been pushed off of, so you could see the underbelly, and it was not pretty.
Yeah. Well, so the call came in around 3. The rescuers got to her around 5:30. So she was good. It was good enough. She was lucky enough to have some Good Samaritan and other hikers that kept her warm. It's 2.5 hour wait to get a rescue. They put her in a litter. And I don't know, Stomp. I haven't done these. I've never been on a rescue, so I don't know. But they got her down to the trailhead by 7:15, and I know it's not super far.
Yep.
Avalon, but that tells me that like they must have been able to like move her pretty quickly on like the litter. Do they generally like will they just slide them in the snow in the litter, or do they actually carry the litter?
It depends on the situation. Some teams use the skeds, which are basically like plastic sleds that fold up like a burrito. Sometimes they use a traditional litter with a fiberglass bottom that you can actually pick up. Not that you can't pick up the sked, that you can pick them up as well. It depends. In certain sections, I can imagine carrying rather than dragging, just because of the steepness or the risk of losing somebody. Dropping them and having a worse incident. But it varies. Depends on the context. But I can't imagine. Yeah, like a regular litter, a summertime litter, nah. It's probably fiberglass or something.
Yeah. We did see the litter that's cached at Bondcliff.
Yeah, that one goes back to the Roma incident, I believe.
Yeah. It was still cache there. It's just like it's right before the chimney to climb up to get above tree line. So
good spot for it. Needed. Yeah, I remember reading online. People were advising others not to touch it. Like people wanted to drag it out. God.
Yeah, no. We left it where it was.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway,
so now there's a couple of other incidents here with snowmobiles here. Yeah. So, 54-year-old.
I only add these if they're interesting. These two are somewhat unusual.
Yeah. So this is a 54-year-old New Hampshire native, suffered serious injuries. This is in Horace Lake, also known as Ware Reservoir, in the town of Ware. Yeah. So, onlookers witnessed the crash, and after an investigation, it appears that this gentleman was not wearing a helmet at the time of the crash. Speed appears to be the primary contributing factor. So,
wow. 2 red flags.
Yeah. So this guy was out being wild
and woolly. I can't even imagine doing that without a helmet.
No way. I wouldn't even think about it. And then, did you pull this one because of my Connecticut comment before?
The last one, no. It's more of a terrain, a geographical type of interesting feature of this story. That's interesting to know. I had not thought of it.
Yeah, I can remember I was making fun of Connecticut and Rhode Island for being bad drivers.
Yeah. Well, going back to that, it looks like there were a lot of accidents that are rental sleds. So I don't know what's going on with some of these companies renting to people that may not be experienced enough, but that's definitely an issue that's got to change.
Yeah. So anyway, this one happened on Wednesday, so like 2 days ago. So this is up in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. 45-year-old gentleman from East Haven, Connecticut. He was involved in a crash with multiple people on First Connecticut Lake in Pittsburgh. So when rescuers got to the scene, they identified that this gentleman, 45-year-old gentleman, had his young daughter in the back of the snowmobile during the crash. However, after evaluation by medical personnel, it was determined she was uninjured, but the father's injuries were severe enough that a call was placed to Dartmouth Hitchcock Advanced Response Team, which is the DART helicopter, and they had to transfer him to a major trauma center. So
here's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, so an ambulance transported the victim from First Connecticut Lake to the landing zone at Dorman's Gas in Pittsburgh to meet the DART helicopter, where he was ultimately transported to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center for serious injuries. On scene, they determined that the rider was riding with a large group of riders on First Connecticut Lake and hit a pressure ridge on the ice, throwing him and his daughter from the machine. Multiple other machines in the riding party struck the pressure ridge, which threw their operators as well. Everyone else involved in the strike were either uninjured or refused medical treatment. So in the last several days, a large pressure ridge formed approximately a half a mile south of Camp Otter Road in the northern third of the lake and is a significant hazard, but is easily negotiated by going at a slow and controlled speed. So the crash is still under investigation. However, at this time, the incident appears to have been caused by excessive speed and inattention to potential hazards. So, Stump, what is a pressure ridge on ice?
Well, it's really, really fascinating. I mean, it's the first I've heard a story like that, but it's a ridge that's formed in pack ice by accumulation of ice blocks in the convergence between flows. So it's where two flows converge. You have an uplifting of the ice upward. So it makes basically a ramp. And what's interesting about this, it goes back to, say, some of the old Arctic expeditions back in the 1800s and whatnot. If they got stuck in these ice flows, the ice would actually just crush the ships because of the pressure.
It's like two plates of ice that just crush into each other, and then they create like a little fold that goes up.
Yeah,
and
like
then
a pyramid
maybe
or something.
they didn't see them because they were like covered in snow or something, but like usually they're pretty big.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. So, I mean, basically, if they had been going slower, it probably would not have been an issue. But if you're ripping, and the other interesting thing about this story, they say that there is no speed limit on lakes and ponds or at least the majority of lakes and ponds. I did not know that either. So people are ripping as fast as they can over these things. But that is a risk. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. So anyway, more snowmobile escapades, but Stomp, this is it. We've completed episode 141. This was great. We talked about a bunch of rescues. We talked about a bunch of hikes. We learned about pressure ridges. I feel much smarter after talking to you.
Oh, that's nice. And we saved Eric Hamilton. He was it was actually a search and rescue. He was out freezing in his car trying to get a connection with us. We said, let's do it next week.
We'll get him next week. And then we have the script all ready to go, too, so we don't have to do any extra work.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
Yes. All right. Until next week.
Yeah. See you then.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASR podcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hell!
Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared. And I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us.